It's warm enough. How about 103 today? 103 degrees today. St. Clair Newman IV is on the line with us, and that's where he is. He's in Dallas, Texas, where it's today supposed to be 103, and that is going to get the air conditioning turned up, and that is going to get the electric bill turned up too. Our conversation with St. Clair Newburn IV brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Now, you're an energy broker and a consultant. You help to buy and manage electricity and natural gas, so you know your stuff about this. I would guess electric bills really skyrocket about this time of year in Dallas, huh?
They skyrocket in Dallas. They skyrocket in Pennsylvania. Everybody across the country is seeing higher energy costs at the pump and with their electricity rates. So, unfortunately, this is going to be a tough summer.
Yeah, it is. And around these parts, of course, it's going to be getting tougher and tougher because of our power plants that are threatened by some government things going on here. When the electricity goes up, what choices do you have but to pay them and then maybe try to find ways to conserve, correct?
Yeah, so, in the PJM market, it's a deregulated market, so you do have options as a business. You can go out and shop. You can purchase power into the future, and that can lower your price because it's much cheaper once you get past 2022. And as a residential consumer, I always recommend that people don't let your contract expire. Make sure you're shopping well in advance of the expiration, and that's how you can ensure that you get the best possible price. There's only two ways to control your energy costs. One is to control the price you pay for kilowatt hour, and the other thing is to reduce your consumption.
Well, it's interesting you bring up about purchasing options with electricity. I think we tend to say that whoever sends the bill to my house, that's who I pay. Electricity shopping is a thing, but I don't know that everybody takes advantage of it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, but it's one of those things that, it can really work to your advantage, particularly when we see volatility like we're seeing right now. The short-term power, so the cost of electricity in the next 12 months is the most expensive by far. And then once you get past 2022, it gets cheaper. So if you go out and shop for a long-term contract, you may be able to do a lot better than just taking the tariff from the price to beat from the utility, or just doing a 12-month contract. We definitely recommend shopping.
28.2%. It's up over the last year, and everything is going up. We know that, but that really is in today's day and age. That drives up the cost of everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the food we produce to transporting goods and services, energy prices are up across the board, and that's why we see inflation peaking right now.
Wow. So what do you do in Texas? You said today it's going to be 103. That's not uncommon. That's the normal temperature, I think, for a lot of Texas for a lot of the year.
Yeah. So today we're expecting to see the highest energy use in Texas history today, wow. And then we're supposed to see it break that record tomorrow. And so, yeah, we're seeing records being broken across the country, really, with the heat and the demand for energy right now.
And your grid is not the healthiest in the world. Is that true?
Well, you could say that, but I mean, the reality is that everybody across the country is facing the same challenges with increased demand from electrification. If you think about all the EVs coming online, we just have more demand for electricity, and it's tough for the grid to keep up. At the same time, we're trying to transition to green energy, to renewables, and that's a balancing act that takes a lot of coordination. And people are allowed to move wherever they want, so the grid operators have to watch where the populations go and then try to meet the demand. But it's a balancing act, and it's a matter of allocating resources efficiently, and sometimes we do a good job of it, and sometimes the market gets ahead of us, and right now we're a little bit tight.
I think a lot of people are rather upset with the fact that we seem to be making the transition before we're ready to, before the new technologies are developed enough to handle the new workload that they're going to get. We're cutting off the other electricity sources here. Of course, We have 4 coal-fired power plants within 25 miles of where I'm talking to you right now. We're supplying a lot of electricity to a lot of places all around this is eastern half of the United States. But the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative has been threatening us, and the power plants, the markets themselves have been really, really difficult. And so those pressures are going to produce higher gas prices and higher coal prices and higher electricity prices in the end.
Yeah, and, we're seeing in Germany what happens when you don't have your energy policy calibrated to reality, because they decided that they were going to get rid of all their coal, turn off their nuclear. At the same time, they became totally dependent on Russian natural gas and oil, and now they're literally in an existential situation where they're not sure if they're going to be able to keep everybody warm in the winter because they don't have enough natural gas to supply the generators. So I think we're getting a wake-up call, and hopefully the U.S. will learn the lesson that we're seeing in Europe right now and recalibrate our policy so that we don't end up in a similar situation.
We're talking with St. Clair Newburn IV today about electricity rates and some of the other energy issues that we have. St. Clair, should natural gas be in that same fossil fuel category as coal?
So natural gas is definitely cleaner than coal. So it shouldn't be necessarily in the same category. But the reality is that we have to have plenty of thermal generation for the foreseeable future. There's no getting around it. And so I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that we actually have a choice, that we could just go green today 100%. That's not a choice that we could make. It's not possible, because when the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow, we have to have something reliable. We have to have a reliable base load generation. And so natural gas is the natural fit right now because they're more responsive. It creates less emissions than coal. But, people that believe we can just get off of coal and natural gas, it just doesn't make sense. And so we've got to calibrate our policy to having a stable base load supplied by natural gas and coal for the foreseeable future. And I'm all for renewables, by the way. I think it's great. We need to have them, but we need to be smart.
And tell me about lithium, because we're hearing today that mining for lithium is also on the environmental agenda. And if we're not mining for lithium, what are we making batteries out of?
Oh, well, that's so we need tons and tons of batteries. And you're right. You raise a good point. In order to create batteries, we have to have rare earth minerals. And of course, we don't like to have mines in the United States. We have very little mining going on here in the United States, and so we have to go to other countries. But that assumes that we have stable supply chains and we have stable regimes where these minerals are, and we're finding out that that's just not the case. Other countries don't necessarily want us mining minerals there, and so we have to really be smart about what our energy future looks like. What are the elements that have to be part of our supply chain? How secure is that supply chain? And I'm not saying that we won't get there and that we won't figure it out, but we just have to be smart, because we're seeing what happens, like in Europe, if you're not smart and you don't think about energy security first, and you just assume that we're going to live in this world where goods flow freely from China or South America into our markets, we can hope for the best, but we've got to plan for the worst.
St. Clair, what are we looking at in 12 months to 18 months? Does this cycle that we're in right now, does it reverse itself without some sort of reversible policy?
No, it doesn't. I think that without some changes in policy, we don't unwind this, and it could get a lot worse. Like, right now, the G7 is talking about trying to put a cap on Russian oil prices. And Putin has basically said, look, don't even think about it. So he's got the leverage to cut off Europe's natural gas supply, which would put them in a really bad situation. If he cut off oil and natural gas, it would have a major impact on prices in the United States. And so we have to really think about what's going on geopolitically. We've got to think about what we're learning with what we're seeing in Europe, and we've just got to recalibrate our policy to make sure that energy security is first, and that the transition to renewables makes sense and is based on reality and physics. And we have amazing resources in the United States. If we just take full advantage of all the resources we have here, we have plenty of energy to take care of the United States.
He is an energy broker, St. Clair Newburn IV. Where do we learn more about you and what you do?
LiveEnergy.com is our website. We're happy to help anybody that needs help with energy.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, thanks for spending some time with us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great day in the 103.
Yeah,
I
will.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.